Hello, boys and girls and Cougar parents. Let's get out our study guide. Our study guide has Mr. T. I think he's right there. You can see him. Yeah. Study guide has Mr. T on it. This study guide will go over all of the Unit 5 equations that we covered: one-step, two-step equations, as well as multi-step equations, equations where we have variables on both sides of the equal sign, literal equations, as well as word problems that become equations. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at number 3 from our study guide. We have n minus 3 is equal to 25. Well, what's happening at n? It's being subtracted by 3. What's the inverse of that? Adding 3. And what I do to one side, I must do to the other. The goal is to isolate the variable, and that's exactly what we did. N is equal to 25 plus 3, which is 28. Number 7. I have 2 times negative 3k is equal to 66. I just have to distribute this 2 multiplicatively. 2 times a negative 3k is a negative 6k is equal to 66. I want to isolate k. What's happening to it? It's being multiplied by a negative 6. So I do the inverse of that, which is divide by negative 6. And I'll do that to both sides, and I will get k is equal to a negative 11, or 66 divided by a negative 6. Number 11, I have t divided by 4 is equal to 15. T is being divided by 4. The inverse of that is multiplying it by 4. And I will multiply both sides by 4. The 4's cancel each other out. And I'm left with t is equal to 15 times 4, which is 60. Girls, let's take a look at 3 more problems. 2 of these are multi-step, and 1 is just a single-step equation. Yeah, I've got number 15. I have 16 minus z is equal to 12. Technically, this is a 2-step equation. I see what's going on here. I've got 16 being added to a negative z, so the inverse of adding 16 is subtracting 16. I'm going to do that to both sides. Okay, and I'm left with negative z is equal to a negative 4. Okay, and I can't leave my variable in negative form. I need to change it to a positive. So there's one more step. I need to multiply this by a negative 1, because a negative times a negative would give me a positive, and I'll also do that to here. And this will be z is equal to 4. It is a 2-step equation. Okay, number 19, I've got a negative 5 minus y. All of that divided by 3 is equal to 5. Okay, normally I would get rid of what's being added or subtracted, but I can't do that since the variable here is being embedded. Well, actually, both of these are embedded in the fraction. I've got to get it out of fraction mode. So I need to multiply both sides by 3. That gets this out of fraction mode here. And what I'm left with is a negative 5 minus y is equal to 5 times 3, which is 15. Okay, I want to get rid of my negative 5 here, so I have to add 5. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. Negative 5 and positive 5, they cancel each other out. I bring down my negative y is equal to 15 plus 5, which is 20. Again, I can't leave my variable in the negative form, so I have to multiply it by a negative 1. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. And a negative 1 times a negative y will give me a positive y is equal to 20 times a negative 1, which is a negative 20. Number 23. Okay, the first thing I need to do is distribute the 5 to both of the terms inside the parentheses. 5 times n is 5n. 5 times a negative 6 is a negative 30, and all of that will be equal to a negative 100. Then I have 5n minus 30. I need to begin to isolate. I will isolate by getting rid of the negative 30, by adding 30. What I do to one side, I will do to the other. Keep everything balanced. That cancels out. I bring down my 5n is equal to a negative 100 plus 30 will be a negative 70. I find the difference between 100 and 30. It's 70, and since I have more negatives than I do positives, my answer is negative. Okay, then I need to isolate n. N's being multiplied by 5. The inverse of that is divided by 5. And I will get n is equal to negative 70 divided by 5, which is 14. And it's going to be a negative 14. Because 5 times negative 14 would be a negative 70. Let's take a look at two more problems. These are multi-step problems. I got 8n plus 24 is equal to 3n plus 59. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I want to get my variables on the same side. And I've got 8n over here and 3n over here. I want to attack the little guy. So I'm going to get rid of 3n. And what I do to one side, I need to do to the other. This allows me to have a positive variable. Okay, 8n minus 3n is going to be 5n. Bring down my plus 24, and that's going to be equal. They cancel each other out to 59. Now I can subtract 24 from both sides. They cancel each other out. I bring down my 5n is equal to 59 minus 24. 9 minus 4 is 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. N is being multiplied by 5. The inverse of that is divide by 5. What I do to one side, I do to the other. 5's cancel each other out. I'm left with n is equal to 7. So that's how you deal with having variables on both sides. Now, number 30, I've got a radical. Okay, now still the same process. You want to ask yourself, okay, what's happening here to my variable? Well, actually, it's what's happening to the variable minus 5. X minus 5, I need to find the square root of that. Okay, well, I want to get rid of this radical. Okay, and the only way you can get rid of a radical, especially if this is the square root, is by squaring it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to square this whole thing. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other. Okay, and when I square the square root of x minus 5, what happens is that gets rid of the radical. And now I have x minus 5 is equal to 4 times 2, which is 16. Okay, now I've got a one-step equation. X is being subtracted by 5. The inverse of that is adding 5. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other. And I bring down my x. These guys cancel each other out. X is equal to 16 plus 5, which is 21. And I am done. As always, I hope that was helpful. And if you have any questions, please bring them to class tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.